допомагають нам в організації допомоги нашим пацієнтам. І це дуже важливо, тому що підтримку Польщі українському народу, Української медичної асоціації остеопорозу, президента Польської асоціації остеопорозу, професора Едварда Czerwinskiego.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me express my appreciation for Professor Grigoreva that she was able to organize this conference in the state of real war where Soviets are bombarding Kiev and anytime rocket can fall down and destroy just everything. My admiration, congratulations, and many thanks for inviting me for this unique conference when the organizer is from the country which is just fighting for freedom against barbarian invaders just in the war. And now let's go to my presentation. So I'd like to discuss the problem about Denosumab discontinuation and myths and facts. I chosen three. First, the DMAP can be administered 10 years, as it was in freedom trial, and all of us, we think and do that medication can be administered as long as it was proven is safe and efficient in the randomized clinical trial. Second, that after discontinuation of Denosumab, BMD falls below the level of before the treatment, so it was the more than you gain. And third, that Denosumab discontinuation causes increase of vertebral and non-vertebral fracture risk. And on the end, try to summing up. We are just talking about the freedom trial, which in the core part was just 3 years and they were placebo-controlled trial. And after that, it was extended up to 10 years. So we are mostly concentrated in the group who was under the treatment for 10 years. It was 2,343 patients. When we discontinue the Denosumab and medication, first, when you achieve the goal of treatment, so end of the treatment. And the second, if there are increased risk of complications. Finding the definition of what is the treatment achievement, the final in osteoporosis is no fracture, but in single case it's rather impossible. So other concept is to target to treat, and it's quite clear in the Denosumab that after achieving T-score between -2 or -5, the further continuation doesn't give very much. So what to continue, and this relates to the all patients. It is not dependent to age and not dependent to previous spinal fracture as we see here. So this is the target to treat concept. The second issue is the complication increase, and in those group there was almost no complication. Of course, there was some minor 3 years, but over the 10 years, we have a typical femoral fracture, 5 cases, and a vascular jaw necrosis, 35 cases, what a bit much. And here are the images for the atypical femoral fracture, and here is the dreadful photography of vascular jaw necrosis, first described in 2005. A typical femoral fracture is the BMD level of the bone. So the more hard is bone, the higher the risk. And you see that the higher the risk of the fracture in bisphosphonate is where the T-score is more than -2, is the red, and the smaller in osteoporotic state, this is the green. And the second problem is the treatment duration. And here you see the incidence of the typical femoral fracture, it is only 1.8 if patients were treated up to 2 years, and 130, almost 10 times higher, if the treatment was longer than 8 years. But what is found by many authors, that the good news is that one atypical femoral fracture is when we avoided 286 major of the fracture and 30 femoral neck fracture. So there is still good. There is is the question whether after discontinuation of DMAP, BMD falls before the level, before the treatment. And the first report was from Freedom Study, of course, when some patients stopped to receive Denosumab, but they were followed up as it is obligatory in any clinical trials. And what was observed that after 3 months, immediately after stopping, the level of bone marker resorption increases immediately. 3 months reaches the top, even 60% above the level before the treatment at 6 months. And this is in the bone resorption and the same in bone formation markers. And simultaneously it was found that BMD dropped down in the group which was on treatment 10 years, 6% in the spine and even below the norm, the achievement before in the group, which was not in the bigger study. It is studied by this. But in the bigger study of 20 women, there was stopping of the cell was due to achieving high BMD, and we said in the lumbar spine it was decreased but not so much, and the same in the femoral neck, so it's above the level which was before the treatment. The question in the study was whether duration of Denosumab treatment causes the bigger drop down on BMD after discontinuation. It was a huge study, 282 women, each average age 66, average Denosumab dose 84, that means 4.5 years treatment. And there were 3 groups, the groups which were treated 2.5 years, the black, 5 years, the blue, and more 5 years is yellow, so the orange. And here we see that this is gains after therapy in lumbar spine, and this is the change after discontinuation. Let me follow up. So we see that there is the 1 year, groups for 1 year is blue to blue is a big loss, but not as big as in the orange. And the same is in the femoral neck, blue and orange. And the conclusion of authors is that rebound association bone loss reach a plateau after Denosumab treatment duration 6 years, in respectively or frequency of subsequent therapy. The third question is whether Denosumab discontinuation could increase vertebral and non-vertebral fracture risk. And here is the Freedom Study against, and we see that during the treatment is blue and after discontinuation in red. So in placebo there is no increase at all, but in Denosumab of course there is, and that means vertebral fracture, and also the Denosumab group is increase of multiple vertebral fracture. Multiple vertebral fracture means 2 or more vertebrae. So at that time, there were many publications and alarm that the fracture are inevitable after Denosumab discontinuation. So when a study occurs, I think the newest and the bigger one is by Professor Buchhardt. It is in Switzerland. 797 women, 3 years of Denosumab treatment, discontinuation when the T-score was more than minus 2.5, and majority received zerodonate, 76%, some the others, and there was follow-up 2 years average. And here we see the vertebral fracture before in green, during the treatment in yellow, and red that is increased, but the lower than before the treatment. And non-vertebral fracture, this is during the treatment, this is after, so this is not a big increase, it's not significant, or smaller rather, I would think, no increase. But we come to summing up, and first of all, would like to present to you recent ECTS guidelines. So after the cessation of Denosumab, they suggest to check bone marrow markers 3 months, 6 months, and 6 months is zerodonate, obligatory, or alendronate if this is not available. At 12 months, again, if the bone marrow marker are high, second dose of zerodonate should be considered, but we remember it's not proven that it works. And we do DEXA and BMD as well, and spinal morphometry. Just by the way, I'd like to warn you, do not allow cementless multiple or single fracture of the vertebra. It is not longer advised by American Academy of Surgeons, guideline 2001. It's really not recommended. What I do in the situation in Poland when I have currently no zerodonate is available. So first of all, I inform honestly patient about the risk of fracture and check, of course, EGRF, which must be about 35. And I do zerodonate 2 doses every 3 months. What are my rationale? First is intravenous. That means 100% absorption, immediately high dose. Zerodonate is more biologically active than alendronate, zerodonate. In patients who were on Denosumab, there were contraindication to oral medication, and at least zerodonate is available in Poland and is cheap. So the conclusion, first to remember that after the discontinuation of Denosumab, there is rebound effect, and it gives very high rise of the bone marrow marker, 60% above the norm. I mean, untreated osteoporosis, and it causes the BMD decrease and fracture risk elevation. Question whether DMAP can be administered 10 years. It is myth. In some cases, maybe, but have to be very, very cautious about the increased risk of complication in the patient who are longer than 5 years. Whether after discontinuation of DMAP falls below the level before the treatment, this is myth. It could be true if we will almost to give zerodonate, but currently give zerodonate with drop of BMD, but not below the level. After the cessation of the Denosumab causes increase of vertebral fracture, this is unfortunately true, and especially 65% of patients have a multiple fracture, and multiple vertebral fracture means 2 or more is 5 times higher in patients who had previous vertebral fracture. Current standard is, of course, order bisphosphonates, which reduce the decline of BMD and to reduce the fracture risk. And zoledronate is the treatment of choice. Other maybe if there is no chance to give zoledronate. In Poland, when currently I just prescribe ibadronate 2 doses, constant doses after 6 months of denosumab stopping, but remember to check the HRF should be about 34. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to meet you again in real life in Lviv. Thank you very much for your attention.